You'll have to forgive some Bears fans after so many years of them getting stuck watching and getting addicted to, fiending for Bears football if some of them aren't just a little teensy weensy bits excited about the current state of the Chicago Bears. Yeah, the team's bad in theory, but brighter times could be just around the corner, just a little bit down the horizon. And you point to this April's NFL draft as the embodiment, the personification of that. Because the Bears are sitting in a real powerful position. And here's the thing that I find ironic about the Chicago Bears, general manager Ryan Poles, and where they're at in this draft. A lot of people, or a number of Bears fans interacting through social media, the YouTube video comments, etc., want me to give Ryan Poles all this credit for this and that. I almost said Ryan Pace. Still, what the fuck's the difference? And my common answer is for what? Credit is earned, not entitled. Benefit of the doubt is earned, not just given. He has done nothing in 2 years as a general manager in terms of the on-field results, which at the end of the day is the most important thing, to justify this King Poles bullshit. He just fucking has it. And if anybody's saying that shit, they're either really dumb, addicted to Bears football, or they're using non-football related factors as a reason to artificially prop up a general manager who hasn't done shit. And to the whole notion of, well, what did you expect him to do? Again, you look at the Houston Texans. They were just as bad as the Bears last year. They get their quarterback and they go to the playoffs and they win a playoff game. They won their division. Like, your excuses fucking can kick rocks at that point, right? I don't give a fuck what you say. But the real irony here is that you want me to give him credit, yet Ryan Poles' best move was the one that he made last year, which was what I wanted him to do, and a lot of other dumb fucks were talking about sitting there and trading back from 2 and maybe doubling up and trading back to 4, but don't go back too far because you don't want to lose out on Will fucking Anderson, for God's sakes. You remember that shit? Meanwhile, I'm the one that's talking about you have to understand the game you're in. You have to understand your position. You have to understand the circumstance, and you have to understand the opportunity in front of you. And thankfully, Ryan Poles and I thought very much alike when it came to last year's draft. And he understood his spot. Now, some Bears fans using revisionist history, many of the same ones, and said, I don't want an Ohio State quarterback after Justin Fields, sitting there now pretending like they wanted C.J. Stroud. C.J. Stroud was my top-rated quarterback. But I'll stand behind what I said. You needed to play out 2023 with Fields because you're setting yourself up for the future, and that's what the Bears did. And Justin Fields proved he wasn't the guy. They've moved the fuck along. Good luck, Justin. Don't care from here on going forward because you're not my problem anymore. But Ryan Poles did the thing that I fucking wanted him to do and then trades down from 9 to 10 and passes on Jalen Carter to take Darnell Wright, who is the guy that I wanted him to take. So when you look at the first round of the draft last year, Ryan Poles pretty much was in lockstep with me. I was in lockstep in him in terms of the right fucking thing to do. So all the people that want to sit there and point to how great it was, this thing that he did, you throw me some flowers too because I was one of the few that actually wanted him to fucking do that. And now they're in this unique spot where they have 2 top 10 picks. They have the first pick in this draft. Thank you, Carolina. Keep pounding, bitches. And the 9th overall pick. And unfortunately, they won a couple meaningless games later in the year. Otherwise, that could have been a top 6 pick, a top 5 pick, maybe a top 4 or 3 pick. Could you imagine what type of powerful position the Bears would be in at that point? You could sit there and say at pick 1, you take the quarterback that you want, and then if you got pick 3 or 4, let somebody else trade up that's desperate for a quarterback, and you've got yourself another 2 to 3 here, massive draft haul, and now you're starting to think about building a real formidable organization and roster for years to come. But we're still here, and it's a really good spot. And we know at this point the Chicago Bears are most likely staying at 1, and they're most likely taking Caleb Williams with the pick. We know that's that. Shit can change, but it feels unlikely at this moment, right? It really does. So now it's all to talk about what they're going to do with the 9th pick. And with where the Bears are this year, their position with these 2 top 10 picks, the number one goal of the program, the number one goal is not acquiring additional draft pick capital for future years. That ship has sailed. It is about getting two, no doubt about it, no bullshit, can't deny it, elite players. Last year was about acquiring premium draft capital for the future. This time, they need multiple superstar players. One of them has to be the quarterback. Gotta hope Caleb Williams can be a superstar. Then that other player they take in the first round, whether it be a pick 9, moving back, moving up, whatever the case might be, has to be a superstar. If he's only a good player, then fucking Ryan Poles screwed the pooch. Period. So let's talk about that. What options do they have with the 9th overall pick? Where might they go? Where should they go? I know a lot of people are talking about wide receiver and a guy like Rome Odunze from Washington. And yes, if you're going to build around a young quarterback, give him some more weapons to work with. They made the trade for Keenan Allen, certainly, but they haven't extended his contract yet. May not do so. He may only be a one-year option. And even if he's not, you have to wonder how many games Keenan Allen is going to play in 2024, which is a legit question. So, you have a lot of Bears fans, understandably so, saying, hey, we want the wide receiver. For once, let's fucking prioritize the damn offense. Totally get that. Would be a legitimate, pleasing option. Looking big picture, though, I have to say that there is certainly an argument to make in terms of looking at NFL rosters, looking at the history of the draft, especially in recent years, and saying it makes more sense to take an edge rusher in the top 10 than it does a wide receiver. Because more than, I think, half of the edge rushers that start in the NFL were former first-round picks, where the percentage for receivers was much less. And you look at like Dallas Turner or Jared Verse, maybe Verse feels like he really fits the Eberflush system. There's a very strong argument to make that there's a big need here for edge rush, and there certainly is, and they didn't address it in free agency. They haven't addressed it in the trade market. Not having a second-round pick because they invested it in Montez Sweat, who's the one guy they have that has any type of edge rush ability whatsoever. We can't just deny, as much as I love to say, oh, fuck, of course, they would draft a defensive end in the 9th pick because Bears football, but there is a massive need there. You could also argue that if there's a left tackle there at 9 that you really value and you really love, you take that guy. Yeah, Braxton Jones, my ass. Solid, but can he really be spectacular? But if you feel like somebody like Joe Alt, and if he somehow miraculously, unlikely, but miraculously happened to be there at 9, or Olufashanu, the guy from Oregon State, whatever the fuck, Fuegi, whatever the fuck his name is. If you feel like one of those offensive linemen can be a stud, then there's an argument to be made that you take him at 9 because, again, at least you're investing on the offense. You're building around your young franchise quarterback. You could make the argument to say, well, go a little different and draft Brock Bowers, especially the Shane Waldron system, multiple tight end looks. Him and Komet could play complementary style football. They don't necessarily do the same things. Brock Bowers is kind of a unique athlete. Some people might be scared off by taking a tight end that high. It hasn't exactly worked with Atlanta with Kyle Pitts, but look at what they fucking had at the quarterback position the past couple of years. There's a strong argument to make. And again, you're talking about investing in what side of the ball? The offense. And Bowers is a unique talent relative to his position. He's the clear-cut tight end 1 in this draft. But the options may not be just to stay put. Hey, we've got to be honest, depending on what the draft board plays out and what teams are valuing, there could be some options to move down. And that could mean trading back a little bit from 9 to the 12 to 14 range, which would likely take them out of the market for one of the top 3 wide receivers. Might be a little rich for them to draft somebody like Brian Thomas, and might put them in the market of whichever edge rusher is there. If one of the offensive linemen, no offensive tackles is there, maybe you take them there at that point. Maybe it allows you to recoup, some extra picks. Maybe you get a 3rd in this year's draft, or do some type of swap, switch your own 3rd, get a 2nd round pick. You can get creative here, but you can trade back a little bit and get some type of value. Or you can get froggy and leap way back into the 16 and 20 range, still be able to get some type of edge rusher, offensive tackle. Maybe that puts you in a more reasonable spot if you want to get to the 2nd level of wide receivers in this draft. There's a pathway there. You're not trading down from 1 at this point, it doesn't look like, but you could trade back big. And at the end of the day, you might say, well, Jeff, you just said you've got to come out of this draft with 2 superstar players. You absolutely do. I didn't say you had to draft them at 1 and 9, did I? I did not. Because you do not necessarily. You can trade back a little and still get it. You can trade back huge and still get it. Or you can get your Ryan Pace on and you can trade up to 4, 5, 6, somewhere in that neighborhood, and go get you a wide receiver. Like if the Chicago Bears really love a Malik Nabers and they say, this guy's got Odell Beckham Jr. type of upside and he's an explosive, game-changing type of guy, and they truly value him, then go up and fucking get him. Because at the end of the day, I'm going to circle back to this, the number one goal of the program is getting 2, not 1, but 2 superstar elite players in this draft. And if that means you have to sit there and impact the 2025 draft a little bit to do that, then so fucking be it. But if you think Malik Nabers is that special, or you think Marvin Harrison Jr. is that special, then go up and fucking get him. Real talk. Go up and fucking get him. And you say, oh, I don't want to trade the 2025 first. Well, look. If you think Caleb Williams is going to be the dude, you think the Bears are improved, you think a guy like a Nabers or a Harrison takes the offense to another level, and you think the Bears are a playoff contender in 2024, potentially a divisional threat, then who gives a fuck about that 2025 first round pick, because it's probably going to be in the 20s any fucking ways. And you still have Carolina's second round pick plus your own. You can get froggy at that point if you're desperate to get into the round 1 territory for somebody. No, you got to get 2 dudes in this fucking draft, whatever the case is. Now, to me, like I said, there's some real draft logic we can't just dismiss for taking an edge rusher. However, if you ask me what you fucking do here, the answer is you draft the quarterback number 1, and then you draft an offensive player. Wide receiver, left tackle, freaking tight end, don't fucking matter. Enough with the investment on the defensive side of the fucking ball, for Christ's sake. You're paying a ton of money to Jalen Johnson, a ton of money to Tremaine Edmonds, a ton of money to Montez Sweat. The expectation should be as much money as you're paying them, they all 3 need to play like fucking superstar elite players in 2024. And they actually all 3 play up to their fucking contracts, then you shouldn't be that worried about having to invest high picks on that side of the ball, because now you've got 3 superstars on that side. Is that going to happen? Fuck no, it's not. They really honestly don't have a single superstar on the defensive side of the ball. But my point is that it is time to do things differently. And the way you do that is you draft that quarterback and you build the fuck around him. It's already bad enough that you got the Scarecrow as this fucking head coach. That's an ideal place to bring in a young quarterback. Let's bring him in to work with a potentially lame duck head coach, and especially one. I don't know what the fuck he's doing on the offensive side of the ball. It's not his background. Ding-dongs. But it is the circumstance that we have. But if you're going to compensate for that, you sit there and say, you know what? If you're so good at your job, Eberflush, then fucking go make the defense elite. You've got enough pieces if you're that good of a coach. And if he's not that good of a coach, then they won't be a top 10 unit in the league. That's how you'll know. Stop over-investing. Stop over-allocating resources into the fucking defense. Build up that offense. You have to have an elite offense to win in today's NFL. So I don't give a fuck if it's Odunze at 9. I don't give a fuck if it's a Joe Alter or Fashanu, a Brock Bowers at 9. You trade back and take somebody on the offensive side of the ball. You trade up and go get Nabers or Marvin Harrison Jr. Whatever the fuck it is, it's draft the quarterback and then get some fucking help around him, period.